Welcome, welcome, welcome to the UpKeep Pledge Pros podcast, a podcast dedicated to UpKeep's unmatched value and unwavering support for our customers in the community through our new ambassador program. Today, we have a very special guest, my friend, industry expert, Matthew Knuth. Welcome to the podcast, Matt.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me, Bryan. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, man. We're very excited. We know you're big time in the business. Matt brings over 20 plus years of real field service experience, not all this other stuff, real in the field, doing the work. And he works for SPM, a condition monitoring solutions provider, top notch. I don't vouch for very many of these companies, but I vouch for SPM. They are extremely proficient, the experts in the industry. They've been around since the 60s doing the real work in the business. And Matt himself has worked for some pretty heavy hitter companies. I'll let you talk about that. But Matt brings a wealth of knowledge from condition-based maintenance of oil analysis, vibration, thermography, all of these things. And we will be getting into those things. But first, Matt, tell us who you are and ultimately SPM.
Well, thanks for that introduction, Bryan. Well, like you said, my name's Matt Knuth. I'm with SPM Instrument. I've been with them for 25 years. Prior to that, I ran a service company here in central Wisconsin, and that's where I got a lot of my experience, well, mostly all my experience, boots on the ground. Wisconsin, as you know, is a heavily industrialized state, so we have pretty much every industry here. So it was a really good place for me to get my experience. A little bit about me. I'm born and raised here in Wisconsin. Lover of everything aviation. That pretty much that sums me up. Aviation and condition monitoring.
That sounds good, man. I mean, well, look, if I'm going to trust anybody with condition monitoring, I'm going to trust somebody who's willing to put their life in their own airplane, right?
Right.
Well, that's awesome, dude. I mean, like I said, I think you and I talked a bit about Wisconsin being a heavy industrialized, just like Chicago and, all these places that are just heavy in mills, paper mills, the waterfront. And there's a massive breadth of experience that can be gained there. And you're certainly a testament to that. And not to mention, you're in the area where all my antique tools like to hide.
Right.
So,
nice.
so the first thing I want to say, since we're going to be talking about SPM, condition monitoring, my first question is this. And I'm going to ask this: why is there such a hype about on-the-line monitoring, vibration, sensors? There's all these companies in this space. I know I get pinged daily about them. I've been getting emails, all this stuff. I know why I am a huge fan of SPM, but can you tell us what's the deal with that whole crowded space and why it's acting that way?
Well, let me start off with this, I guess. Listen, condition monitoring does not need to be confusing, and it certainly does not need to be financially crippling. But with the influx of a lot of this technology and different things, it's certainly been trending that way, which we'll touch base on, the fees and whatnot. So my mission, my personal mission and that of SPM, is to help companies and individuals navigate, if you will, the murky waters of condition monitoring in Industry 4.0.
That's right.
On a case-by-case basis. I'm here to help companies achieve a world-class program that is cost efficient, as I like to say, and not costly. My approach to condition monitoring is really simple. I like you said, I've been doing this for almost 25 years, and I find that by and large, more and more as time goes on, people try to overcomplicate condition monitoring. So my approach, like I said, is real simple. It's bringing it back to basics. It's an asset-based approach, not a tech-based approach. Like you said, with all the wireless and stuff, we certainly live in an exciting time, technology-wise. But I like to tell people the latest shiny thing with all the fancy AI and ML and all the sexy dashboards, it might not be needed.
That's right.
I hate to tell folks, you really don't need to censor everything.
That's right.
And most importantly, I like to tell people a one-size-fits-all approach a one size fits all solution, I should say, doesn't exist. Now we might have another one of these conversations in 10 years. Yes, IoT and things will evolve much like anything else does. But right now, I don't believe that's the case. To answer your question, the explosion of IoT and the massive influx of sensor companies trying to capitalize on it, it's become the Wild West. It really has, with piles of outlandish marketing and undelivered promises. And I think that is, just follow the math, right? So most industrial companies, 86% of them, their number one condition monitoring tool is vibration analysis, closely followed by oil analysis. So that's why I think, to answer your question, we see that influx is because that's where the money is. 20 years ago, it was just us in the space, CSI, SKF, Intech, IRD, and really that's all you had, right? I mean, I'm sure I'm missing a few, but it was companies, condition monitoring companies, Bentley, Nevada, all of us who are now considered dinosaurs in the space, according to everybody else's marketing. And now it's like, I think it's creating a lot of confusion, but that's why we've seen it. And of course, I mean, things are evolving, the tech's evolving, but again, my approach is asset-based, not tech-based. My goal is to help folks decipher what's legit and what's hype, what actually works, and what will become a box full of useless equipment you hide in your closet. I see that more and more.
That's no question a very common thing. I mean, I've talked to people, customers, talked to recent people where they're like, "Oh, big data, we were given all this stuff, and now we either have too much data that we can't manage, and we don't know what to do with, and we don't even know if it's good data, right? It's just a lot of it. We have it."
Right.
But yeah, you're right. Asset base is key. Every tech company nowadays is like, "Oh, we're in the IoT market. We do sensors. We do this. We do that." And there's a lot that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is smoke and mirrors, in my opinion. It's, oh, well, yeah, we'll put sensors on you need a sensor on every machine. You need to monitor every machine. You need to this and that and this and that. And then by the time you know it, you're spending 150 grand a year, probably, I don't know, a lot, right? Even more. And all you're doing is generating a bunch of work orders, creating a bunch of confusing data that you don't know how to pinpoint and go after. And, one of the things, talking to you, researching SPM and really digging into this, right? Because I don't subscribe to a lot of condition monitoring companies. It's just not something I do because of the things you've said. Right. One thing I really, really love about SPM is that fact that there's no hidden anything, right? There's no hidden fees. There's no all this craziness, right? Can you give us a little bit of background and like kind of the perks of running SPM systems?
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize, I didn't answer that question on the intro.
It's all good, man.
So SPM is a family-owned company. Just with that being said, we're a bit of a unicorn in the space, right? As you see, a lot of the condition monitoring companies get bought and sold or are owned by these large parent companies. SPM's always been owned in-house. It's a family company. It's currently run out of Strängnäs, Sweden. We've been around, like you said in the intro, 60 years, coming up on 60 years. We developed the shock pulse method. Very, I'm not going to get into the tech on that, but as you know, you're familiar with it, but a very easy technology to use. Again, that was developed back in the 60s for the marine industry. Of course, we've gotten into the vibration analysis side of it as well. I like to tell people we have the latest technology in the vibration world, with our HD technologies. What else can I tell you? The great thing about being a family company is all the R&D, all our manufacturing, and all our training and tech support is done in-house. Right. So if our customers have a question, they come to me. If I can't answer it, I get on the phone, I call Sweden.
They know what they're going to get, right?
They know what they're going to get. There's no third party anything, I think we're the only ones in the space as well. I could be wrong, but we have no annual license agreements, no maintenance fees, no
love that
fees.
Data is the customers, right?
Data as the customers. Yeah, that's, the two biggest questions I get asked nowadays is, Matt, do we own our data and do we own our equipment? And the question is, yeah, a resounding yes.
Of course.
We're not siloed. We're not siloed. SPM Instrument is end-to-end condition monitoring solution provider in the vibration analysis world. So everything from 4 to 20 milliamp vibration transmitters all the way up to our high-end online systems that we run in, like the ships you see behind me, or the pulp and paper industry. We're the leader in low speed critical asset analysis. We monitor down to 0.1 RPM with crystal clear data, which is a lot of fun. We're quickly becoming the industry standard, especially in the pulp and paper industry, in other industries, of course, that are running the low speed stuff, because that, by and large, that's been a huge pain point, is trying to monitor that stuff. So that's really who we are, and process optimization. We started taking it, our engineers over in Sweden have taken it to the next level. I mean, not only are we excellent and a global leader, I mean, we're represented in 65 countries in condition monitoring, but now we take that HD technology that they developed back in 2010 on the shock pulse side and 2015 on the vibration side. We're now a world leader in process optimization as far as helping pumps run, and BEP, huge in mining on process optimization in the screening and in the tumbling mills and stuff like that. So that's really exciting stuff, and that's growing and growing as well.
And it's cool. I'm glad you brought up mining, because I was going to go there a bit. I mean, I have a lot of experience in mining aggregates, big screen plants, cone crushers, vertical shaft impact crushers, all that stuff. And, managing those things is very difficult. There is tremendous amount of wear, a tremendous amount of run times, tremendous amount of load, changes in load, and having the ability to accurately and effectively monitor those machines correctly, and not just putting sensors all over the whole dang thing. And then, we don't know what we're getting, right? That's super awesome. And I can't stress enough how much I like the fact that you guys are able to have these in-depth implementations, and training, and what you're going to get. You're not going to get, like you said, some dude in Florida who's like, oh yeah, I have to transfer you to this guy, right? Like, no, you're going to talk to a field expert, someone who's done the install, done the program, done every single thing. And that's immensely valuable. We talk often in our industry about application, right? We got to know how to apply knowledge and apply information and apply data. And SPM and yourself are certainly setting the groundwork, or have already set the groundwork for that, right? I wanted to touch back on your shock pulse. So at SMRP, Matt gave me the kids version explanation of all these things, right? And there were so many cool test stands and monitoring of all these things. And one thing that you showed me was your handheld, like go, no go shock pulse. That was shock pulse, correct?
Yes, I showed you two different versions, a go, no go on the vibration side, and
Right.
one on shock pulse as well.
Right. Yeah. So those to me are super cool. A small shop can utilize that. You can implement them in-house, right? You can purchase these things, get your training, and then now you have your own fate, and you don't need to decipher all these big time things, right? Or all this data and all this sensor stuff. Can you tell us, some successes, if you will, about having that technology so easy to use and have it in the hands of your customers?
Yeah, well, it's often overlooked, because of how large, widely recognized vibration analysis. But like I said, the shock pulse has been around since the 60s. And again, as I said, it was designed for the marine industry to be a very easy go, no go type of solution. As you've seen on the tool, and as you can see on my shirt here, SPM's famous logo is the red, yellow, green.
Yeah.
You don't have to have 25 years of vibration experience to be able to let you know if you have a lubrication problem or a mechanical issue. And that's the beauty of shock pulse. So with shock pulse, it's looking at just what it says. It's looking at those impacts, and you have a carpet value and a max value, and the differences in between that delta, that dB difference in there, will determine if you have a mechanical issue or a lubrication issue. And it's really that simple. You just need to know either ISO bearing number, and RPM and shaft diameter, and the rest is history. You know, it's a lot of service companies, very large service companies, use the technology because they can go out and part of their maintenance agreements and stuff like that and take it. It's good for those who aren't so concerned with, okay, it's inter-race bearing defect or it's intermediate shaft on a gearbox. They just want to know, yes, there is it a lubrication issue or is there a mechanical problem? And that's the beauty of the shock pulse side.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that it's extremely applicable, and you can literally equip teams with the
Oh yeah.
ability to, I mean, they're on their own, right? They get their training and then they can start doing very, very actionable preventive maintenance and condition-based maintenance tasks. And
Yeah, big time and affordably.
yeah, right. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I mean, think when we talk, I was going to buy one of them things from you. Like it was like completely affordable. It's like crazy. But then we have the other side of the coin, some of the bigger mills and mines and stuff that you're always providing your expertise to and doing these installs. Tell us about what the systems that you guys have that they're using.
So, well, it all depends. Like I said, end to end. I mean, we have everything from the vibration transmitters. Of course, we're involved in wireless. Um, you know, our portables. We have several portables that we use from both the smaller, easier to use, um, pocket type instruments, as if you will, to our full blown data analyzers, to our high end online systems. So a lot of what I spend most of my days on is the online systems, you know, on the process optimization side in the mining industry. You know, like I said, those guys are using that technology to monitor like toe positions and stuff like that to maximize their throughput, their yields, or maximize profit, you know, from running more
Yeah,
tonnage.
100%.
Shaker screens, like I said, pumps, because there's so much energy used in pumps. Of course, you know, there's a million studies on that. So that's a biggie. And just really, the real shining star, if you will, of that technology is our forewarning times, that we can, you know, I've got customers I've been monitoring stuff up to in over a year, through our HD enveloping. And that's huge. You know, now I think, you know, after this last pandemic, it really exposed supply chains and stuff like that. And now, more than ever, I think companies are seeing, you know, that, hey, if we cannot have this downtime, and with our tech to be able to look out that far, it's huge for maximizing production.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, look, you know, if you're recognizing a risk 6 months in advance and the lead time for that part is 3 months, well, you got a 3-month buffer now, right? Or scheduling that outage. I mean, you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah, it's always been the maintenance versus production, right? And you know, like I said, in my 25 years, the $1 million question, who anybody in service knows what that means, is that when you tell somebody there's a fault or you find something, the next question is going to be, well, how long can it run?
That's right.
You know, and I'd be like, well, if I told you it would die tomorrow or it would crash tomorrow, would you take it down or would you keep running? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
the answer is always like, well, we'll probably keep running.
Yeah.
So when you have forewarning times at your fingertips, that our technology allows, that's huge, right? So they can see that, especially even on a lot of these older machines. So if you look at the pulp and paper industry in the United States, I mean, by and large, it's a lot of older machines, you know, and these older machines are being asked to run a lot faster,
Yeah.
produce more.
Yeah.
Before I got
While still being super old, right?
While still being super old, right? You know, so that creates a whole different set of problems.
And I mean, do you see sometimes that with these older machines that it's easier or more difficult to monitor them because of, you know, let's talk about like reality of a bearing, the bearing quality standards in 1940 were probably very different than the bearing standards of today. So are you through this monitoring with these older assets, particularly, are you having to compensate for further mechanical looseness? Are you are there baselines that you're doing? Like, how are you dialing those in when maybe the machine's not technically at fault, but it's just they're older. They're, we say, clapped out, right?
I think the machines, I think the machines hold up to the test of time. It's what the human interference is doing. You know, it's new machines, old machines, new machines. I see we have a large plastics industry here in Wisconsin, and I would go into a place and check all these extruders and stuff and just watch them just about vibrate through the ceiling, you know, because they're being run at like 150% versus what they're in their design, and just creating a lot of resonance issues and critical speed issues and stuff like that. And so I don't think the age has so much to do with it as much as what people are what production's trying to get out of them.
Do you think that age helps compound what production's trying to get out of them?
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. I think I read something the other day that said like 30% of reliability issues are based on from processes like that, of people over speeding and stuff like that.
No doubt. No doubt. The quickest way to gain reliability of a machine is, one, design it correctly, and two,
Right.
operate it within its design characteristics.
Yeah.
Most people, like you said, they don't operate their machines in design characteristics. Someone turns the machine up just a little bit one day and they go, oh, wow, we made like 40 more widgets than we normally do. Oh, that's the new standard. Let's just keep running like that. And that kind of leads me to my next question, is like, do you find through this process that a lot of the issues, they don't tell you, but the issues that you find are because of that? It's like, hey, everything's okay right now, and now for some reason this month we have a crazy change in operating characteristics, and then do they ever come back and say, oh, we just cranked the machine up like 30 more percent?
Oh, I used to see it all the time. That became more common. Be like, well, what's changed? Well, we like you said, we cranked it up another 100% on this thing and trying to get more widgets out, as you said. But yeah, I don't think that'll ever change.
Probably not. Probably not.
And that's good for that's good. I joke, I say, because that's good for the for when we have all these conferences and stuff, right? So we keep, like, I think I was talking to another one of our friends in the hallway at SMRP, and I said, you know, it's 2023 and we're still having these same conversations. You know, there's still the same conversations on how to you know, design a machine, or how reliability, or, you know, for guys like us, the boots on the ground, like how to properly, like the benefits of laser alignment. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing in maintenance if you don't understand that? Like, I mean, that's not a dig on people out there. And again, you know, I'm a big advocate for training. You know, I always preach training, education before
the right training.
The right training. Yeah, the right training, and like, you know, like I always say, you know, the right tool for the job. That's what I'm all about. But it's, you know, here we are. We're still talking about the same things. Going back to what you're saying about IoT, you know, we're coming up on almost a decade of that stuff. And there's still the same tired conversations around it. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've taken it upon myself to kind of have a crusade, if you will, of just trying to help individuals and companies just navigate those murky waters, because there's just a lot of bad information out there. You know, like you said, more data. I say to people, and I get side-eyed, like, I'm like, well, what are you doing with all that data? Well, more data is better. I'm like, really? What are you doing with it? Well, it's in the cloud. I'm like, well, what are you paying for that? You know, I try to ask like simple questions on like, well,
Sure.
I think you're spending more money. Well, you know, if we can take 10,000 readings a day. Okay. All right. Well, we don't need to walk around our plant anymore. You know, that's sold to us like we don't need to walk around our plant. I said, okay. Well, I said, let's look at this a little bit. Let's unpack that. When I was in service, I could get through a full scale, large operation pulp and paper mill in about a day and a half, and have a report out to that company within 48 hours. So it's about 2 days, right? I'm like, well, what are you guys doing with the other 28 days of your month? I'm like, you know, I'm not buying into that. I'm like, you know, IoT is great. Like I said, we're into it. We do it real well. We just don't BS anybody about its limitations and capability.
That's right.
If you want to put a wireless sensor on something and just get an overall level on it, great. If you want to put it on something that's constant speed, constant load, I think it's great. But I can't tell you how many times a day I get called from companies saying, well, we're currently using this wireless sensor on our dryer can or whatever, and we keep losing these bearings on these pressure rolls that are $30,000 a piece and take 6 weeks to get. And I'm like, well, excuse me if I don't look surprised, but it's not the right application. So I'm all about, as you know, preaching and speaking on the right application for the asset. You're a big CMRP guy, so asset the worth of asset criticality and stuff like that. I think people, what they're doing is they're either, well, I know it was being pushed from the top down, but they're latching on to the latest shiniest thing and then hoping that it fits the applications
Sure.
instead of saying, okay, for this application, Matt, what do you think? Okay, for that application, yeah, we definitely can get away
Right.
with some IoT stuff. Let's put a wireless sensor on her, send it to the software. Okay, what about this? Well, this you're going to want an online system because it's a big washer drum that's going at 0.75 RPM. We want this. What about the rest of this? Well, I think you can still use a route-based thing and only check it every 3 months. You don't
Right.
need to take 4 readings a day out of pump.
That's
You
right.
don't, if you're standing there, like I tell people, if you're standing there taking data on a motor pump combination for more than a minute and a half, you don't need IoT. You need better training.
Yeah.
You need better education on how to do this, and that's what I try to provide. I try to weed through a lot of this stuff because I don't want to make enemies, but it's like, some of the stuff I think is making these condition monitoring programs redundant and actually costing more money. When I was on the service side, I used to get a lot of calls to come and check false alarms for companies that were using like a remote software as a solution type of condition monitoring program, which is great, but that's kind of the downside of sight unseen. Having somebody analyze your data who's never put a step to foot in your plant, really doesn't understand your processes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it creates some issues. Like I said, I'm sure it'll evolve. I'm not against it by any means, but I'm not afraid to point out that there's pros and cons to all of it. Like I'm just, I'm just not a fan of bad information.
No question. I mean, and there's a lot of it. There's a lot of bad information. I have these conversations with others like Howard Penrose and
Right.
other people that really are field-based experts like yourself. And there's a lot of noise. And for all UpKeep's customers listening, SPM is able to eliminate that noise, right? And it won't cost you your entire maintenance budget for the year, like some, right?
Well,
And
no, not at all. Like I said, that's one of that's the beauty of being a family-owned company, having everything in house. Like I said, our manufacturing, our R&D it makes us way more competitive. I mean, we have some of the best technology in the space at a very affordable rate because we just don't have those middle people in that case. And the other thing that we take great pride in is our integration. Again, we're a company that's non-siloed. So, like I said, I've yet to see, and I could be wrong, but I've yet to see one operating system that we cannot integrate our data into. So we take great pride in that. Like I said, you buy our wireless sensors, our portables, our online systems. They all communicate with the same software. You don't have to buy different software. You don't have to buy subscriptions for that. And if you want to take that data and put it in your SCADA system or your SAP or whatever, any number of systems, right? You can do that. Use it how you want. It's yours. You own it.
that's right.
We don't hold anybody's data hostage in the cloud.
Right. And it's so important. And getting back to one of the things you said, like it's rare to find a substitute for the human experience
Right.
of evaluating an asset, right? The human sensors are happening all at once. I can put my hand on a machine. I'm not a vibration expert, right? But I can put my hand on a machine and I can know if it's clunking around or banging around or whatever. And I can also smell the whole time I'm touching it. I can hear the whole
Right.
time I'm smelling it and touching it, right? So I agree with you so much I've put PM routes and condition monitoring routes in place in many places, and they are wonderful. They are awesome. Now, for risky things, very high criticality, they generally got a sensor, right? But on a timed interval, someone was going to verify physically the outcomes of that sensor reading, whether good or bad. So I like to use the analogy in mining. A lot of people like to put auto lubricators on machines. They're great. I installed them on all my fleet when I worked for host terminals. Okay. The problem is they're not set and forget. You need to put them on, and then you need to make sure that you're actively verifying their capacity and their status, because it's very easy to go, oh, the auto luber's full. I see the truck, it's full. It's good to go. Meanwhile, 3 lines are broken off and grease is just pumping onto the ground, or the electrical connector broke, or you know what I mean? So like, you can't set and forget. And I believe that sensor technology is very similar. It's, yes, you can monitor 24 hours a day. You can do all the right things, but it may be wise, as you said, say, hey, yes, this thing's good, set and forget. We trust the sensor, we trust the technology, but hey, maybe every 3 months, have a guy go take a look at it.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and that's another point that I hit home when I talk with companies is I call it, I've kind of coined it, the current condition monitoring space. I've coined it the diet pill approach. Everybody wants to just have that easy button, that quick fix pill, and not put in the work. Like, hey, I just do this and it's done. Well, I know there's a lot of people in the space that will come up to me and debate me on that, but I've been around long enough to know you still got to put in the work. You have to put in the work.
Have to. And the same goes for CMMS. All of UpKeep's customers, like all of people in the CMMS space, we know that everything is based on what you put into it. The implementation in your case, the discovery session to assess criticality, to assess the bigger business needs, to ensure that you're aligning the appropriate application with the desired outcome. It goes for all systems. I was talking to Brian Decker from Compass Consulting yesterday. We talked about the EAMs, the Enterprise Asset Management Solutions. It's all the same. It's all the same process. All these things have to be vetted and verified against the desired outcome. And a lot of people have told me, oh, we'll get a CMMS and, all our downtime will go away. Or like, oh, we'll get a sensor, all our downtime will go away. It's like, nope, still going to have downtime.
Yeah, you got to put in the work, right? You got to have training. Yeah, it's still mind-boggling to me how some people think like you can just set a sensor on something and wash your hands of it.
That's why there's people like you and companies like SPM who are out there speaking the reality of the condition-based space, and not all this. I swear it's noise, and it's just a wild thing. So we're coming up on time, Matt. It has been extremely valuable for me. I know it's going to be extremely valuable for UpKeep and their customers. I just want to give another shout out to UpKeep and the UpKeepers. UpKeepers are employees that work for UpKeep. They are absolute crushers. They are doing the work day in, day out, ensuring alignment with the customers, ensuring alignment with application. We are building the ambassador program to ensure that our customers have unmatched value and that they have access to the best experts in the world to help navigate and drive everything in the business, not just CMMS. And Matt, you are a part of that. We greatly appreciate you and SPM. And if you ever have a chance to see SPM or talk to Matt, do it. It's very cool. I was geeking out on a lot of stuff I didn't understand with him, and it was sweet. So Matt, one last thing. How can we get a hold of you?
Well, you can reach me on my LinkedIn page. That's just Matthew Knuth, or you can reach me you can email me at matthewknuth@spminstrument.com.
Awesome. It's been wonderful, Matt.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Like I said, I'm here to help you out, the folks at UpKeep and your customers. Like I said, even though I work for SPM, if I don't have a solution for you, I can point you in the right direction. And, when you talk to me, as you know, you'll get a very non-biased look at condition monitoring. So
yes, I love it. We love it, man. And If you have any other comments, concerns, anything, please reach out to Matt. But this has been a wonderful podcast. This is UpKeep Pledge Pros podcast, where we are bringing unmatched value, unwavering support through our ambassador program. And you can visit www.upkeep.com to find out more. Matt, thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one, brother.
All right. My pleasure. Thank you.